NATO's Russia story is unraveling, and the alliance now looks divided over a threat it once called inevitable. For years, Europe was told a Russian invasion was inevitable, that NATO must prepare for war by 2029. Now, that narrative is quietly changing. Senior NATO-linked leaders are dialing down the threat, raising a bigger question. Is the alliance backtracking on Russia? Germany's Defense Minister Boris Pistorius is the latest to soften the alarm. Rejecting NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte's warning of a war like our grandparents saw, Pistorius says Moscow is not preparing a direct assault on the alliance, but something far subtler.
Perhaps he wanted to vividly illustrate what could happen. I don't believe in such a scenario. In my estimation, Putin isn't aiming for a full-scale world war against NATO.
Instead of tanks rolling into Europe, Pistorius argues Russia's strategy is political and psychological, testing airspace violations, probing NATO unity, and pushing the United States away from Europe.
He wants to destroy NATO from within by undermining its unity, and by testing how NATO reacts after the 13th or 15th airspace violation. Will the Allied Eurofighters eventually ground themselves because they no longer take it seriously? Will they withdraw because nothing will happen anyway? Or are they prepared to invoke Article 5 if something happens on the Baltic borders? And Putin is working strategically to force the Americans to withdraw.
This marks a notable shift from earlier German intelligence warnings that Russia could attack NATO by the end of the decade. The reassessment isn't limited to Berlin. In Washington, U.S. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has also pushed back against invasion fears, accusing warmongers of exaggeration.
U.S. intelligence assesses that Russia does not even have the capability to conquer and occupy Ukraine, let alone Europe.
Finland's President Alexander Stubb agrees. Speaking openly, Stubb says Russia has no incentive to attack NATO, precisely because deterrence works.
I agree with Tulsi Gabbard's assessment that the NATO resolve is so high that there's no interest for Russia to attack. Take Finland as an example. We have one of the largest armies in Europe. We have obligatory military service, and we have significant air, land, and sea capabilities. We have them because we want to have a deterrent against Russia.
He backs strong defense spending, but rejects claims of an imminent Russian invasion. Moscow is seizing on the shift. Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister, Sergei Ryabkov, says Western leaders are now echoing what the Kremlin has insisted all along.
We certainly have no plans to attack EU and NATO countries. Russia does not pursue the aggressive goals some say it has. President Putin has said that Russia is even ready to legally enshrine this as part of a potential solution to the current crisis based on the principle of equal and indivisible security.
President Vladimir Putin, he adds, is even willing to legally enshrine security guarantees. The takeaway is stark. This is not about Russia suddenly targeting NATO nations. It's about NATO's fractured messaging after years of warnings. Europe's leaders are walking them back, confusing the public, weakening credibility, and handing Moscow a narrative victory that Moscow has been claiming for all this time.